Hi and good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's event, Rising Phoenix Music, Race and Disability. My name's Lauren Buxton, and I'm the project worker here at Writing on the Wall. Today's event is part of Writing on the Wall's Black History Month Festival, but is also part of Liverpool's wider Black History Month Festival that is going to be happening throughout the month of October. Coming up, we have got an amazing array of events that really lovely to check out. We have Windrush Music from the People, which is our musical heritage project and is a collection and a book launch of essays, which is based on the the impact and musical and cultural impact of the Windrush generation and their descendants. So that will be on the 29th of October. We also have coming from the pond, across the pond, Marlon James, the Man Booker Prize winner. He will be in conversation with Erison Ogoji, the Nigerian author, and he will be speaking about his career to date. Um, and so tonight's event is tonight's event is we are going to be speaking to the stars and hip hop artists of the Netflix documentary Rising Phoenix, and I can't wait. It's such a great documentary. Um, so And with that in mind as well, we are going to be discussing that the Black Lives Matter movement has shone a light on racism, but we're also going to be discussing about disability rights as well. So without further ado, I'd love to welcome to tonight's event. We have Keith Jones, we have Tony Hickman, and we have Leroy Moore. Hi, welcome. Hi,
Oh.
Hi, Keith. You okay?
Hello.
Hi, you're right. Just waiting on Leroy. Hi, Leroy. You okay?
Still muted.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
So I'm just going to ask you if you could just briefly introduce yourselves and just give a quick an update on where you are in your careers at the moment. Tony, I'd like to start with you, please.
Well, yes, my name is Tony Hickman. I am a singer, hip hop artist, book writer, philosopher, naturopath. I have many titles. And so right now in my career, I am definitely working on my first love, which is music, but I'm also working on another book. And and living a vegan life and healthy and working on just keeping my sanity in America.
Thank you so much, Tony. And Keith, can you please introduce yourself, please?
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Keith Jones, co-founder of Crip Hop, along with Leroy Moore, Rob Denoy's Temple. It's kind of hard to follow Tony. I'm gonna say I got one less hat than she does. So I'm I run a company, so the music is my passion and my love. But I'm a political activist and disability rights and human rights activist, not just here in America, but globally. And currently working on trying to get people to stop being stupid and enjoy everybody's humanity, as well as working on the last CD that I'll be putting out.
Amazing. I look forward to that as well. And Leroy, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, Leroy Moore here, doing great in California. I'm the founder of Crip Hop Nation, also a journalist, activist since the 80s around police brutality, way before Black Lives Matter. I'm also, an artist, authors of like 5 books. And Crip Hop put out a movie called Where's Hope? Police Brutality and People with Disabilities in 2016.
Thank you so much, Leroy. And thank you so much, everyone, for introducing yourselves. So I thought before we kick off tonight's discussion, that we would actually play the trailer for everyone to watch, and please do listen out for that incredible soundtrack.
My name was the Rising Phoenix because the Phoenix can live and die and burn and live again.
Extraordinary tension around this stadium.
Take your mark.
On a vécu quelque chose qui nous a pas permis de pouvoir réussir.
This is how I am. Merry Christmas.
If you're thinking every day, why me? You will never go anywhere.
When I saw how sport is accepted, it was logical to start a sports movement.
We want to change the way people saw people with a disability.
There isn't anything else in the world that can bring you back from the darkest places than sport.
I think the moment I sat in that racing chair, I just knew it was for me.
My coach said to me, I see talent in you.
I was never going to do anything other than 100 meters.
When you're hitting someone head on, it's like a small car crash.
Everybody knows you need money to run the games.
They said that the Paralympics is going to be cancelled because there was no money.
If these games don't happen, we're done.
We're going to fight this. Paralympics is something almost magical.
Being a part of something bigger than just yourself was incredible.
Yes, lives are being changed on the track, but lives are also being changed in the stands.
La vie est un combat. On essaie de sauver maintenant le monde.
We are part of a much bigger picture.
It's such an incredible documentary and an amazing soundtrack. I watched it, was just like, wow. I was really impacted by it. So I'd just like to know firstly how you became involved with the soundtrack itself. So Tony.
Well, thanks to being a member of Crip Hop, I guess the directors of the soundtrack contacted him. This company called I Hear, I think they were the producers of like the music. And so they contacted Leroy, and then Leroy contacted me. And they wanted to have a couple of us featured on the song. And so I ended up speaking with the producer, and we came up with a chorus. And I think once we came up with the chorus, they sent it to the other young man that is on the song, and Keith. And it pretty much went from there. Yeah.
And when you were like writing the song, I know like I've read that you obviously use the experiences of the athletes, but you obviously with your own experiences of disability as well, and infuse that into the song, which I found really impactful. I think it's the only song that I've ever really heard that I could put myself fully into a song and be like, oh, I absolutely get, although I may not have that disability, my disability is different. I can fully understand where I can put myself in that song. So I just want to say thank you so much to the three of you and George for creating that track. I think it's a really powerful track. I think it's an amazing track.
Awesome.
It is absolutely fantastic. So also what I wanted to ask is obviously about the soundtrack, and I know all of you are hip hop artists. I know Keith, you're a rapper yourself. You have a Fezzo the Mad One, and Leroy as well. I know you've been creating rap music and art and poetry. So I just want to ask, I know the mainstream hip hop community, I feel that it does erases black disabled artists and their contribution to hip hop. I just wanted to know what your experiences was as disabled artists in the hip hop community. Whether you've had any barriers that you faced being a hip hop artist. So I'd just like open that out to everyone.
Okay, you want to take it first, Keith, and then I'll come after you.
Okay. Well, the barriers it's funny because hip hop was, done as a rebellious music. It was formed as a, protest, and, anybody can do hip hop, which was, and I was like, yeah, because I came in contact with hip hop and heard hip hop for the first time in 1978 in upstate New York, and wrote my first lyric in 1978 in Brooklyn. And, it's just like everybody can rap. But the moment I tried to be a rapper beyond just rapping, in the hood and doing school talent shows, the industry was like, well, we don't know how to market you. And literally was told I was too crippled to rap. Now, ironically, I was too crippled to rap after they met me. So before they met me, they loved the music, they loved everything. But then after they met me, and it was, we don't know how to market you. And so, but that all played into, but that reinforced some barriers that, just being Black with a disability in the community just presented anyway, because you're living in the country where your skin is criminalized.
Right.
And now you have a disability. So now your humanity is devalued and criminalized. So the challenge was, how do you keep pushing forward, knowing that this is what you want to do, or this is the passion in you, but you're constantly people trying to knock you off your stride. It's almost the old adage, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
So, I kind of look back at it now and just like, we're here talking to you guys, granted in the pandemic, but it's like we're doing global stuff, and the world now knows hip hop through disability.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
So I guess the best revenge is success.
Yeah. You guys are like, you're awesome, and your disability shouldn't matter. It's a part of you. It's not all of you. Your art and your talent should matter. Do you know? It shouldn't be a barrier. It really shouldn't. And can I, Leroy, could I ask for if you face the obviously the same barriers, but like create, and I know you yourself, Keith, and the like great Rob Temple Denoise formed Hip Hop Nation. And is that forming that is that helped to elevate this disabled artists?
Well, Tony, is it okay if I go?
Yeah, please. Yes, I'm just here enjoying the show. It's okay.
Yeah, the thing about me and Keith and Rob, we are more than just musicians. We are all activists. So, of course, being a poet and loving hip hop. I was in New York when hip hop was on the corner, and I was going to those hip hop ciphers, and New York was hardcore back then, Well, when I was involved in Noise Temple's studio in Brooklyn, I talked about hip hop for the first time. He's like, Leroy, I'm your elder. Let's do this. He's like, I've been in the music industry since the early 70s and been discriminated against, musicians would take his music and just play on the radio. So he's like, yeah, let's do it. And so it was an easy thing from the beginning. Meeting Rob and meeting Keith at the Democratic convention, it was easy and it was just simple. And also having a strong, solid foundation for my parents. My parents showed me, blues music, and we all know that blues started with disabled Black people. Yeah. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, let's just do it in hip hop. So that that's how it started. I loved that I got a chance to meet Tony Hickman, and because hip hop is so male driven, and seeing a Black woman with a disability doing it, it's like, yes, finally, I was hungry for that, so yeah.
Thank you. And Tony, as a Black female disabled woman in the hip hop community, is there certain barriers that you face as a disabled woman within the hip hop community?
I think first of all, honestly, women face issues in the hip hop community because it's so male dominant. It's so like men run the industry. So yeah, that's one of the first issues. And another thing with my situation, I wasn't born with a disability, but I developed my disability while I was deeply into music, and I have been signed to a major record label before that, and so, but I never put out a project. And so now I look at it, even with my disability, a lot of things changed. Once even some of the people that I was working with found out I had a disability, and these were people heavy in hip hop, they kind of just shied away, because of that situation. I was now this person that did not fit in. But if you think about the music industry as a whole, right? I mean, even people with obesity, there's no identity of anybody being older, bigger. Like you may have some bigger artists, but it's very rare. And even when they come out, they are told that they have to lose weight. Like they have so many stereotypes in the music industry, period. So yeah, disability is definitely at the bottom because I know artists personally, I will not name them, but I know them personally that have a disability and they have to hide their disability in order to perform.
Yeah. That was literally leading on to my next question as well as disabled artists. Is it easy to gain like a career within the industry and making the money? Do you know what I mean? Within the industry,
it's different now because when we started, it was heavy record labels. Right. So, but even when the hip hop started, there was a lot of smaller independent labels. So you had Zakiya 4th and Broadway, you had Swishahouse, you had Jive Music. So then it turned into Tommy Boy, but then it started turning into corporate because, I'm old enough to remember when they said hip hop wouldn't last 5 years.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't gonna last 10 years. Then it was, and now it's as old as us, right? But with the technology it's changed, and now we're not necessarily label heavy. So we don't,
right.
There's still things that, clearly if you have money and sponsorships, you can get elevated, you can get dropped in rotations and all of that. But I mean, just my experience being almost signed to Sony back in 91 and 92, again, they were like, yeah, we like you, but we don't know how to market you. So now it's actually, I feel freer now.
Right.
Because I'm not shackled to, well, this is good, but this is what the trend is.
Right.
So
do your own thing.
Right. So and then so Hip Hop Nation, and the fact and because my disability is so visible, it does put people in it puts people in a different place. Because when I roll into the room, I can't hide the fact that I just rolled in with a wheelchair with cerebral palsy. I mean, my sexiness is astounding, but I can't hide the wheelchair. So, that being said, so we try to, so I guess now back then, it was where America was, because now we are celebrating the 30 years of the Americans with Disabilities Act. But if I'm not doing music and I'm not doing what I want to do, I can't get married. I can't make a certain amount of money. I can't do this. And these are laws. Yeah. So the self-expression that comes through the music is much more freeing and much more. And now since we are who we are, we don't have to worry about how to, can we do a show or somebody book us. It's still weird because people are ableist, but now they're not going to tell us no. So.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, and you can control your own path now, like regardless of what anybody says or thinks. And I think it's important to do so. Like no matter what, I have this attitude, like no matter what, I'll be damned. Like I'm gonna do what I came here to do, and whether you like it or not, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I think that may be the attitude that even when you watch the documentary Rising Phoenix, that's pretty much the energy with a lot of people with disabilities. Like, oh, you think so? You think I can't? Let me show you.
Watch me.
Let me show you. I'm gonna show you better than I could tell you.
Yeah. Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
And that certainly comes through in the lyrics as well. Like the lyrics are so there's a resilience in the lyrics that really shines through, especially like you know what I mean. It really does. It's like, nah, I can't, like you saying I can't do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna smash it. Like I'm gonna.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. That is absolutely the beauty of it.
Yeah. Go on, Leroy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was totally different from I just have to say, from the Paralympics in the UK, because that music came from, stars that didn't have a disability.
Right.
So this is a total different theme song, a total different music, and I'm so glad that producers reached out to Quip Hop and really wanted to get disabled hip hop musicians doing music for disabled Paralympics.
Right.
It just makes sense.
Right.
And it's about time. It's about time to show like society, this is, even though I'm disabled, this is what I can do. Like
we're disabled and we're good. There's nothing taken away from our talent. We're amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and as Leroy said, it doesn't make sense to get you could get like the biggest like hip hop star, you know what I mean, to do the track. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. So what I wanted to ask is as well is like speaking about the disability rights. I know Keith said the AD. It's been 30 years now since the ADA has been passed. What role do you think music and art has played within disability rights? Or if
Okay, I'm gonna let you take that too, Keith.
I can go next. I think Keith.
I don't know what to say to that one, but go ahead.
Okay, well, so being the old head at the table, protest music, being Black in America, growing up in the 60s and the 70s, that was the soundtrack. So if you listen to Marvin Gaye, you listen to Temptations, you listen to, James Brown, you listen to Sly and the Family Stone. We always have had a pulse and a soundtrack to whatever movement we was doing. If you had the Last Poets, there was always that. With the disability rights movement, however, even now, it's, most, and even the majority, and even as much as we're talking with you guys in Black History and Black History Month, and, it being the impetus of Black Lives Matter, ableism is deep. And so the soundtrack now, oddly enough, is Crip Hop, right? So because we are what everybody is trying to get to. It's not about, yes, you have the disability, but it really is about your humanity. It's about the wholeness of the person. Your disability, like people are complex mosaics of different aspects of their life versus cerebral palsy, stroke survivor, Down syndrome, autism. Those are just diagnoses and or different variations of your human condition. So I think, in terms of the disability rights movement, it's weird. It's not even weird. It's society. It's a microcosm because even the disability rights movement is extremely plagued in terms of its leadership. It's extremely, in terms of having privilege, because once you get under the surface, get past the leaders who've been doing it for 50 years, good leaders train their replacements, right? So so it's not about Keith being here for 50 years. That means I suck at leading. I should be able, that means if I'm good at what I do, I'm training my replacement and not giving them a little bit, I'm giving them everything. And so I think where we are now, in terms of the way Crip Hop relates to the disability rights movement, to the global Black Lives Matter, just to the global human rights movement, this is what it is. We are at that point where you have to look beyond just whatever my presentation of my humanity is, because it's not me that has to convince you to be comfortable with me. That's not my job. My job is not to live my life so you're comfortable. And I think that's sort of where Crip Hop has been excelling in putting talent like Tony, talent like Leroy, talent like myself, talent like George, Manfred, Binky, all of these people, is that it changes the way that people get a chance to look at us. Yes, we may have X, but damn it, we hot. Yes, so, and if you can't see that because you're caught up in the fact that I shake a little bit, or that I may process information a little bit, that's real. That problem doesn't really reside with me, does it?
No.
That's your problem, right?
Right.
Yeah, I wanted to say, before Crip Hop, I was in London, because London had a Black disabled movement.
Yes.
I came to London, I was like, wow, because the US didn't have one at the time. This was like back in 94, 95.
Yeah.
And I saw what Black people were doing in London. I was like, wow, I want to be a part of that. I want to take that home. And when I saw that, shout out to Margaret Hale and all the Black disabled leaders at the time. But when I saw that, I came back home. I started my own organization that led into Crip Hop. So really, the whole business started in London seeing Black disabled people organizing and doing their own stuff. But what's so sad about it is that now it's been crushed by large disability institutions that take up all the funding and all the resources. This is the same thing here in the U.S. Black disabled organizations are, are examples. Crip Hop itself, they start with pennies, and they can't compete with these large national, mainly white disabled organizations that take up all the funding and all the resources. So, with Crip Hop, being an activist and being a Black disabled activist, the reason that I started Crip Hop is that, I wanted to see Black disabled people in hip hop, but I also wanted to hear the lyrics of our history, of our struggle, of our beauty. I wanted to hear that. That's why Crip Hop is doing visual arts now. We have like 12 pieces from Black disabled artists from around the world, doing painting for Crip Hop. So, it's, Black disabled people have art, they have music, they have the history, they have politics, they have activism.
We're in everything.
It's around the world. South Africa has it, UK has it. So yeah.
And also, as the Black Lives Matter movement has now shone a light on racism, and as which is it's about time. And also, I just want to say, like, as a white female disabled woman, because I've got I'm visually impaired and I've also got dyspraxia as well. So it's like my experience of discrimination is I've experienced I feel like I've been like let down by the system, where I wasn't able to go into the education with all my friends. I had to go to a different school, and I didn't find out that I had dyspraxia till in my late teens. I was discriminated with work. I found it hard to get a job as well. So, and even like working with WOW, I wasn't afforded the opportunity to understand my disability. Not mainly me sight, because I've had that all my life. I'm like, okay, I'm blind as a bat without my glasses. Do you know what I mean? I can't see. But mainly me dyspraxia. Like I wasn't afforded that opportunity to basically understand me disability, especially relating to the workplace. So I just wanted, what is it like being a black disabled person in America as well? So I just want to open that up to you all.
Well, for me, like I said, I didn't start off, I wasn't born with a disability, which is eye-opening for me, because when it happened, I have to say that I probably was a part of the ableist society. Like, that's my truth. I was ignorant to the pluses and the minuses. I was ignorant to everything that came with a disability. But I have been discriminated against before being disabled. But then when I became disabled, what I saw is what's crazy about the disability discrimination is it doesn't apply to color. Like, you will be discriminated against simply because people don't want you to represent their company. You know, they don't want somebody that's walking with a limp or something, that somebody, you know, is rolling in a wheelchair. They simply don't want you representing their company. And so you can be discriminated against. And that's what I found. So yeah, even being like a Black woman in America, yeah, I've faced discrimination, you know, most of my life. I've had dogs sick on me, all of that. But with the disability, it's a whole new level. That's a different level of discrimination for me.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the things where, so that having not known anything other than cerebral palsy, growing up in St. Louis and then moving to the East Coast, and you know, the East Coast of the United States is supposed to be, quote, more liberal, unquote.
Right.
But what even in the activism, the one thing that I tell people is that the reason people look up to you and go, "Oh my God, oh Tony, I'm so sorry. Leroy, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Like, what the hell are you sorry for?
Right. I tell people, stop telling me you're sorry for what?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, look, if you sorry, damn it, give me some money, right? But they always, but I mean, like when you said about representing brands and all of that, you know, it's funny because hip hop was about brands, you know, rocking your Pumas, rocking your shell toes,
exactly,
Adidas,
you know what I mean? All of that,
Adidas, all that. So. And you know, and we rocked that. You know, I rocked that. You know, I worked my little part-time job. I got my little shell toe Adidas on my acid wash jeans and my name belt, all that stuff. But even then, before I was cool with my hip hop fashion, I was crippled. Right? And but that wasn't my definition of myself. That was somebody trying to define me.
Exactly.
Solely because they were uncomfortable with my version of humanity, which is odd because I'm looking at them like, you know, I don't have to like you either.
Yeah.
Right? And then they get offended.
Right.
Like, so you mad at me because you don't like the fact that I twitch a little bit? And so the thing about disability now, being Black in America, is, well, for me, doing the politics of policy and activism, as well as whatever, it's like I'm invisible even amongst the invisible.
Yeah.
Like being on the margins of the margins of the margins is a real weird, particularly when people are talking about, you know, let's go march and let's go do this. And then you show up and they're like, yeah, brother, maybe you need to sit here because it's going to be dangerous. What you mean it's going to be? It is. And if you have me sitting here, so you're just making me a sitting target. If I roll with the crowd, then we all, right? Exactly. So, I mean, you look back and you say some of the greatest disability rights leaders were disabled, but you would never know it because the one thing about disability is when people look at you, they think, damn, I don't know if I could live like that. Like, I don't know what it would be like if I had to have somebody get me out of bed and get me dressed, or if I was cool one day and I couldn't do it the next. It's a real, but we don't live in that kind of bubble. We live in okay, today I'm crippled, but that's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I got to get up and go make this money because I want to go to Vegas. That has nothing to do with disability. That has everything to do with my humanity. So that's the challenge about trying to move now with people being racially aware, is that they're only focusing on one aspect and they're not even being smart about it and understanding that race is a construct.
Yeah.
Also here in the U.S., and you know, you have 98% unemployment rate for Black disabled people.
Yeah.
98%, and that goes back to the 80s. So you know, you have that. You have, you know, disabled boys and young men being shot by police constantly. You know, so. And on top of it, most of our institutions are, and I just have to say it, white. So you don't have a Black disabled organization. I'm involved with the National Black Disability Coalition. That's the only national organization for Black people in the U.S. It's 2020. 2020, there's only one, you know? So it's more than individual, it's institutional. You know, in the UK, I go back to London, had a kick-ass Black disabled movement, and now it's gone. You know, thank God for Black Lives Matter going internationally. I just interviewed Black disabled leaders in the UK, and they're finally coming together. And then they told me in an interview, like, Leroy, the government and these so-called organizations do study after study after study after study, but they don't support Black disabled people. So it goes on, and this is internationally, it's not only the US, you know.
And what do you think, with that point Leroy just made, what do you think the disabled community as a whole can do to especially uplift and give voice to Black disabled people?
Well, I think one is like let go of your resources. You know, just let them go, because you got 90% of the resources. You know, that's hard. It's hard to say, but you gotta let them go. And you have to do your own work in your own white neighborhood, in your own family. You know, that's your work to do. We can't do that work.
Yeah.
You have to do that work. You know, and just, you know, support Black disabled people, support hip hop, you know, support Keith when Keith runs for president, you know, support Tony's music, you know, just support us, because hip hop has been doing this for 13 years on an SSI budget, on state benefits, you know. We get no grants, we get nothing, but we keep on doing it for 13 years.
And you've done an amazing job, Leroy. I just got to tell you. Honestly, I didn't even know you were part founder, Keith. I just have always been like, man, Leroy, you know, props. Just, yeah, I'm so grateful y'all found me, for real. Or you found me. Yeah.
Well, thank you for, you know, because I remember when, it's funny because we are, the growth of hip hop is almost like linked to the expansion of the internet, right? So, you know, and the fact that, you know, communication access, putting my music up on MySpace, meaning, right, taking you back, right?
Right.
So, but the irony is that this, even as we're talking about it, the reason that there are social movements is because humans are making conscious choices to separate themselves among shallow reasons.
Yeah.
I don't like you, Tony, because you're a woman and because so I'm gonna underpay you because you have melanin. Those are shallow reasons to, and then they intellectualize it and codify it into law. And so as we talk about, you know, it's funny because it's Black History Month in the UK, but if people really want to talk about why Blackness is defined that way, it's the residual of colonization. And Blackness was defined as the economic benefit to say they are worse, they are less than us, because now then we can, if I can dehumanize you and turn you into an object, then I don't have to treat you as a human.
Right.
And if I don't have to treat you as a human, I can rape you, I can kill you, I can feed your disabled babies to alligators, and this is history. So this is not even made up. And so here we are in 2020 in a pandemic, and people are chanting Black Lives Matter with masks on in a pandemic. And you know, nobody sees the irony that you're protesting death in death. And so it just, you know, it boggles the mind that we're having a discussion about, I still have to convince you, not that I even want to spend the energy, on convincing you, but because you're going to go out of your way to make it hard for me. Now I got to convince you that take your head out of your behind and see me as a human. Yeah. You ain't got to like the way I walk. You ain't got to like the way I roll my wheelchair, because I don't like the way you smell and I don't like the way you cook. The fuck that got to do with anything, right? So let's keep it moving. But if you can't, and I will say this, for leaders, whether it be presidents, prime ministers, directors, dictators, whatever, the distinction between them and us is a job title. That's the only difference. And if you can't see my humanity, then I'm not going to give you the acknowledgement of you having intelligence. If you can't see my humanity, I'm not going to, acknowledge you having any sort of brain in your head to discern the value of a human life, because you're looking at me based on shallow, your uncomfortability about my existence.
We've got some questions coming in from the audience as well. So one of the questions is from the news that we were getting in the UK with race as the fault line. It feels like the US is on the verge of a civil war. And does that feel like that to you?
It's been civil war on Black America since I've been born. We've been
say that.
Okay.
Say that. Say that.
It's gonna be maybe a bigger version, because we have other cultures teaming up with us now, perhaps. But I don't know how to answer that one.
Yeah.
It's been a lifetime story for us.
Yeah. Black people in the U.S. are so used to oppression.
Right.
We can't. Donald Trump, our next clown in office, is the next clown in office. We survived. FDR and other presidents that were in office when we were slaves. And that slaves was just a part of America. So, what's the difference between those presidents and Donald Trump? So it's a continuation. But I think what makes it stronger now is that our youth today are not taking it. They're not taking it. And
right.
And they have Facebook and all that stuff, and they're not taking it. So
we're over it. We're really over it. And I do not want my child's children. I'm done. We have to end it. Yeah. That's just it.
There's no I guess it feels like the verge of civil war, the irony of everybody thinking that America's on civil war is that the people who've been oppressed the most, First Nation people, and of those of us who are in the diaspora, descendants of the diaspora, we are more American than the people who are walking around with flags. Because if the world really thought about it, wherever colonists have happened, there's social unrest. Yeah. And if you're talking about America, if First Nation people and descendants of stolen people wanted to wake up and be like, you know what, we can burn this to the ground today and be absolutely justified because you slaughtered your way across the country. You raped and you stole us and then sold us and then bred us. And we still wake up every morning saying, all we want you to do is just live up to the ideals that you said.
Yeah.
Right.
You said all people are created equal. Yeah. You said life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And then you was like, except for the niggas and the Indians and da-da-da-da-da.
Right. Except for everybody who has melanin in your skin. That's
So is it the Civil War? If you believe the hype and the propaganda, it's always been that way, because I never as a sociologist, you stand back and say, if your superiority is predicated upon making me inferior, then you're not really superior.
Mm-hmm.
That just means you got more bullets. That's all.
And the next question we've got coming is, what can we do to make sure that the music industry is more accessible to disabled artists? And then especially the hip hop giants, like what can they do to better support the hip hop movement as well?
Yeah,
That's it right there. Go ahead, but go ahead.
Yeah, I really think I know. You know, I might get some pushback. Well, I really think that the music industry is dead. I mean, people don't need the music industry. You know, you look at Chance the Rapper. He did that all on his own.
Yes, I say that all the time.
That's like, you know, of course he's connected with his father. His father, you know, has been money, but still the music industry is dead. And also, I have to say the music industry is really, if you go deeper into it, it's really dark and evil. You know, so why do we want to be a part of that? You know, you go back and you look at Donny Hathaway and what he was really was about to do, and the music industry is like, no, you won't do that. You know, you look at Tupac, what Tupac wanted to do, and the music industry is like, no, you won't do that. So I say, you know, support hip hop. Now we're not, you know, signed to a label. We're not, you know, the music industry, but we do music. You know, we do videos. Support hip hop now. Donate. You know, buy our CDs. You know, buy Tony's CD. You know, yeah, you don't need Motown or RCA Records to make you support each other.
You need to open up your mind and change your perception, and yeah, be open to new. That's it. And like you said they asked how they can support Crip Hop.
Yeah.
This is Crip Hop right here in the flesh, like the Keith and Leroy, you know, they're right here. You can support them. They have projects out, and I'm an artist. You can support me. You can support George. Like, find us, you know. And is it okay for us to all give our social media information? Because
you know what, yeah, absolutely. I know you guys are all your projects are streaming on like streaming services, Spotify and stuff like. So yeah.
Well, I mean, well, for me, it's TonyHickman.com. That's where you find out everything that I do. It's on TonyHickman.com. And then my social media is The Real Tony Hickman. So TONI Hickman, you know, but on all social media, it's The Real Tony Hickman. And yeah, but I say just find us. We're everywhere. I know if you go on Leroy, because Leroy is Crip Hop on Facebook, on Twitter, everywhere. It's Crip Hop. Like, that's his tag name. Find him and he'll help you find us.
That's right.
Yeah, Crip Hop with a K. Yeah,
with a K. Yeah, I just work here. So, you know, I mean, I think when they ask the question, you think about it. It's not even that you know, people, you know, what can we do and what can't we do. But the mode has changed.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's talking about we want representation. Well, do you really want representation, or do you want something that doesn't really challenge you? Because you don't want to come out of your space.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm doing here. So thesoultoucher.com is where I do the work. The Soul Toucher is the tag on Twitter, and you know, and it's Keith Jones and Soul Touching Experiences on Facebook. But because I do so many things, the music is what I love. The music is the passion. That's the soundtrack to the work.
Same.
But,
yeah.
Like, you know, but in terms of where can people find us and how can they support? it's, you know, everybody, if somebody hears something about a particular company and they be like, oh, hell no, we're going to boycott them, or, oh, you should go over here. Like, I find it ironic that even here in America, when they're like, support Black-owned businesses, and then we show up, they're like, Like the running joke now is that everybody who's talking to us is not necessarily Black-owned businesses, or Black, or even people who are saying that they're pro-Black, or we are, you know, and so the challenge,
Right.
so the personal challenge is not being bitter towards the fact that, you know, there's these huge people out there who are, you know, Black entrepreneurs, and we're supporting all these Black businesses, but you don't, like, if you understood the data, 1 in 4 people in the Black community have a disability, which means half of the Black community has somebody in their family with a disability, which means half of the community has a disability, and you don't hear anything about anything. And so the support should be, hey, Oprah, if you want Black folks, hey, Jay-Z, since y'all doing all this stuff, y'all being socially conscious, then don't be socially conscious because it's cool this moment. Because the work, like, because this is not glamorous work. This is real work. Like, people, like, when you're talking about going to school, you understand that the tagline pipeline to prison starts with kids with disabilities who are Black. Yeah. And then half of the people who are incarcerated have some kind of disability. So if you're talking about social justice, then you better add disability to your plate. You're talking about voting. Only 40% of polling places are physically accessible. 10% of the ballots are accessible. So if you're talking about how can you support, well, then take your head out of your butt and start seeing the entirety of the picture. But people only, fight for the fight that they feel comfortable in fighting.
Yeah, it's interesting because you get Black rappers that support, like, Autism Speaks, the worst organization ever for people with autism. And they give millions to this organization. Matter of fact, Ice Cube, I'm gonna put it out there, Ice Cube did a t-shirt for Autism Speaks. And at the same time, Crip Hop did our t-shirts, you know, with SSI dollars. And I put two pictures side by side on Facebook. It's like, which one would you support? An Ice Cube t-shirt that goes to Autism Speaks that has nothing to do with people with autism, or a Crip Hop t-shirt that comes from the people by the people.
And I'll just say this last little piece. As a father of daughters, Black girls, if you're going to talk about supporting, then it's dollar for dollar for the work. It's pound for pound for the work. If you're going to support Black women, and then you can't be sitting here talking about, say her name, and then turn around and then not be willing to understand that Black girls are being expelled at a disproportionate rate. You can't talk about being like, there are just certain things that in movements that if you skip over the details, invalidate your movement. So if you talking about how you can support Crip Hop in terms of the artistry, buy it, go to Apple Music, go to Tidal, go to Spotify, you'll go to Bandcamp, TonyHickman.com, CripHop.com, that's fine. But and if you want to support the movement, then be in the movement. So my statement to the world is that we will never be a fully realized movement until we are a fully inclusive movement. If you can't understand that, don't talk to me about the struggle you're facing. If you're talking about I'm fighting for women's rights, but then you're racist in your struggle, because Black women are women too.
And then one big thing that Crip Hop is doing is literally a big project, is that Crip Hop is trying to get a 2-story house, hopefully in LA or in the Bay Area, a two-story house, a Crip Hop house, where we can have a Crip Hop music studio, art studio, meeting space for the public, and upstairs for the living space with myself, Keith Jones, and hopefully Tony Hickman. But yeah, that's the future of having a Crip Hop space in California. Not only for us, for people that want to do, music and activism and race around disability, so they can go to a place and have that. So that's a big goal that we're trying to work on. So if you want to support us, buy us a house.
Yeah, buy us a house. I'm coming to LA. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I wish you the absolute best of luck with that. That sounds absolutely amazing, and I think that would be life changing, especially for young artists as well. Young black disabled artists coming up.
Right.
And actually, I wanted to ask, is there any young black disabled artists that you guys are working with, or and what advice would you give to them regarding like music and like political activism within the disability rights movement?
Well, so I was an artist in residence for 20 years, teaching kids between the ages of 14 and 22 with and without disabilities about art and things like that. So, we try to do mentorship, but, we understand that it's more than just, hey, let me take you for 5 minutes and then show you what it's like and then put you back. I think if we're in the age of representation now, if this is linked to the previous question, is that you have production houses now that, everybody's looking for content, but, and so everybody wants a black voice. So they go get, black people are cool now. So then they run in, they scurry and they go get black people. But the kids are the future, so yes, I'm working with some, we are always looking to help anybody who wants to just raise their artistic voice because it's probably the most, if not the most personal expression of your humanity. So when you singing, that's not coming from nobody else, that's coming from you.
Right.
When you writing, that's not coming from, that's coming from you. So when you're doing your poetry, your breakdancing, so I, as a father, like when people go, oh, you got kids? Like, yeah. So I can be a father? Yes. But this is not just for kids with disability, this is for their family. Like your child with a disability is your child. What do you want for your child? If you were growing up, what did your parents want for you?
Right.
The only thing that changes is your child's human condition. Are you preparing them to be able to exist in that human condition to the best of their ability, to the fullness of their joy? That's what it's about. So are we working with them? Absolutely. But doing it on the SSI budget and and putting together 2 nickels to make a dime, this has always been about passion. This has always been about, would I like to retire from the social justice game and be fat, lay on the beach and smoke a lot of weed? Yes. But seeing that that's not going to happen at the moment because the world is crazy, then we got to keep doing the fight. So I'm, hopefully the vision is to, I shared this with Leroy, and I'm going to tell you now that the goal broadly is to have a Crip Hop Nation network. So if nobody wants your work, you got a home. Right. If somebody thinks your Tourette's is too much to do your poetry, you got a home. If they think you're too blind to do play, you got a home. Yeah. There are 1.5 billion people on the planet with some form of disability. And if marketers and people who are capitalists don't want to tap into their market, to hell with them. We'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah, my advice too would just be like, even for young artists that are coming up, what I have learned, because so many people still are looking to get in the music business, like get signed to a record label or whatever. And, we're in times where you can really go platinum if you have a hit, or you can make something so catchy that is a meme and then it just blows up simply because of the internet,
Right.
So my advice to anybody, like no matter what, you just never give up on yourself. I don't care what your situation is, you don't give up on you. If you give up on you, then you're done anyway, because you have no hope at that point. But if you don't give up, you will notice that things will start connecting. I don't care about your budget. I don't care about your circumstances, whatever. If you stick to what you say you're going to do, then by law, by natural law, it is going to happen.
Yeah, it's so true, Tony. I mean, this year, hip hop, with Rising Phoenix,
Yes.
And with other things, being in the New York Times,
Right.
So after like 14, 15 years, 20 years of doing
Wall
this work.
Street Journal.
Yeah.
Right.
It's finally coming, so Tony is right. Keep on doing your work.
Right.
Don't use what you got. What's the old saying from the 70s? Use what you got to get what you want.
Baby. Yes.
That's it.
And I think you guys as well is a testament to the youth nowadays to say, well, if these guys can look what you guys have done, do you know what I mean? Well, I can do that myself. Like, yeah. I can be the next Tony Hickman. I can be the next Steve Jones. I can be the next Leroy Moore. Do you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just think you guys are absolutely amazing. To be honest, I really, really do.
Well,
thank you.
And Leroy, I know you're a children's author as well, and I think your book, Black Disability History 101, should just be in every curriculum.
That's what I say too. Yes.
The amount of artists, like, I didn't even know. Like, I mean, because like you say to someone, oh, who's name a disabled artist, like a black disabled artist, like, well, I think they only named Stevie Wonder. Like,
Stevie Wonder, yeah. Right.
There's so many. There's absolutely like so many, and it's like, look, like there's a whole community of us. It's not just this. It's not just what one person's famous. It's a whole community.
Right. Yeah, and Tony's in the book too. Tony.
Oh, you really is?
Yes, I am. I'm so proud. That's like one of my proudest things. Like, I made history, okay? I made history. I'm in the crib.
Let's talk about it. What?
It really does need to be across the curriculum. It is.
Yeah, I think every kid needs to read that book.
Yeah.
Disabled or non-disabled.
Disability or not, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
It needs to be in all schools.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
We need to get a petition going. We really need to get a petition going to get it across. Because I mean, it's like I didn't know, like, about, to be honest with you, about the disability, the history of disability movement, especially. I am completely ignorant in that, and especially with black disabled. Because I love music. Do you know what I mean? So like I knew, obviously, like, you know, you don't have to ways, and do you know what I mean, like you see the wonders, but I didn't know the breadth of the history, and like I wasn't aware. So yeah, it really. Yeah, we need to get it out there. We definitely absolutely.
And that kind of history is gonna be in our 2-story house. You know,
absolutely.
We're gonna have a library there and everything. So yeah, it's more than just a house. It's a museum. It's an art studio. It's a music studio. It's a gathering place. Yeah, it just needs it needs to happen.
Yeah, it does. I definitely want to visit. When this pandemic is over, I will definitely, when that comes about, I'm definitely gonna get a plane ticket over there.
Yeah, because last year, Queer Pop brought 6 African disabled musicians to the Bay Area, from the Congo to Tanzania to South Africa. We did that last year on that Society Dollars. So can you imagine doing that with a house? Oh my God, yeah.
So there is, so the you know, just pulling it back a little bit in terms of the reality of, you know, where we are, how we are, and where we're going to go, particularly because you're talking about Black History Month in the UK and things like that, is that people have to understand that the disparities that people with disabilities face, Black people face, are conscious choices. Those are not conscious choices made by those who are at the receiving end. Those are conscious choices made by those who are in positions of, quote, power. Like, you don't, like, the disparity in terms of how you respond to people in nursing homes, or people of color, people with disabilities in a global pandemic is not because people are sitting here saying, hey, I want to catch COVID, particularly if you're sitting at the head of the table making decisions. This is why we do the art. This is what turning to my daughters and saying, you know, your daddy has a disability, so you don't get to be weird and start talking about people and doing all like that.
Right.
You need to accept the fullness of everybody's humanity. That doesn't mean you have to like them. But in this scenario, in the global pandemic, when we know that the vast majority of the people who are in poverty happen to have disability, they don't have access to the resources. What is it like in the UK if you have a national health network and you still are at the bottom of the poll when it comes to pandemic responses? When people can debate whether or not your life has value, but if you take their life, then they're upset. So if you can't see the value of my life, but you're in charge of making decisions around everybody's like, you don't need that job. When you are serving the public as a prime minister or as a president, that means you have to be selfless. That means you can no longer have a political ideology. What it boils down to is that these kids who are looking at us on this Zoom, seeing as a Black girl with a disability, seeing a Tony Hickman who is now doing her thing, a Black man who's seeing me or Leroy who is doing his thing. That kind of stuff is not because they don't want to see it. It's because people are making conscious choices not to make it available to them. And again, that's not because, and that has nothing to do with our humanity. That has everything to do with people not being smart enough to put their own BS aside and just deal. And so I'm hoping that at the end of this, you know, people are talking about Black Lives Matter. I'm always asking, matters to who and matters for what? Because it has always mattered in terms of making a profit. It always mattered in terms of your entertainment. It always mattered in terms of you being juxtaposed to say, well, at least I'm not that Negro. But who does it matter to? At the end of the day, if we can't value humanity and value life, it doesn't matter what skin you're in, because nobody is going to care. So hopefully at the end of it, hopefully at the end of this, people will be smarter and say, you know what? We all in the global pandemic. COVID don't give a care. COVID don't care if you break dance, rap, roll, or cook gumbo. It don't care. If we don't take care of each other, there will be no one to take care of anybody.
Exactly. And we all have to take care of each other. I agree.
Yeah,
That's the ultimate answer to everything. Like, we have to love each other more without these stereotypes and perceptions of what we think should be, you know?
You know, and people have to do the groundwork.
Yeah.
You know, myself, Keith Jones, for 10 years, we did the groundwork of hip hop and nobody wanted us. We got hate emails in the beginning, hate emails from big time people in hip hop. But we did that groundwork. And look at us now, we're in the UK talking to you. But people have to do their groundwork. And I think, especially in today's society with internet, people don't want to do the groundwork. They think a hashtag is it. It's like, we're done. We did a hashtag. It's like, are you serious? You know? So yeah, people have to do the groundwork. People have to support, you know, people on the front lines, like Tony Hickman, myself. You know, yeah, support Crip Hop. Let's get the house, you know. Bring us to the UK after the, you know, pandemic is over. You know, yeah,
Right.
let's do this. Yeah.
Like, if you really want to be a part of it, then be a part of it. Be a part of everything. You know, like I said, I've learned so much, and Leroy has taught me so much, because even going from ableism to, you know, becoming a disabled person, I too had the concept in my head of like, oh, I am less than. I am less than, simply because that is pretty much how I perceived life before then. You know what I mean? Like, so I understand the ignorant side. Like, I get the ignorant side of not fully getting the picture. But now it's like I see the picture and I want to change it. And I think no matter what, Crip Hop is going in history. Like, Crip Hop has already put a dent in the industry, a dent in, like, you know, people's perception. And like I said, I'm so grateful to be a part of this movement, because it has also helped me. It's not just as far as my music career, because I've done more in my music after I became disabled than before I ever did when I was on a record label. And I've been on gold and platinum albums, but I've done more as an artist after disability. So again, it goes back to defining yourself. But coming back to Crip Hop, you know, if it wasn't for Crip Hop, there's a lot of things that wouldn't have also happened even in my own career. You know, I spoke at Georgia State University because of Crip Hop. You know, I was on Rising Phoenix documentary because of Crip Hop. I put out a documentary myself, and Leroy helped me put a whole movement together in San Francisco where we promoted it because of Crip Hop. You know, like, that's my family. And I'm eternally grateful. So yeah, we need that house, y'all watching. We need the house. We need the movement. We need to go fund me. Yeah, all of that.
I just have one request of the people in the UK. If you should happen to see the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, tell them if they really ready to rock and change the way race is perceived, get at me, because we will make it happen. Right. Because it's more than just
speaks to the world.
Right. Yeah, because it's exactly, and it's because it's more than just saying we don't want racism to happen. Like, it's a deep issue, and we are here to help. Because I got my son, mama's half white, or my son is half white and his mama white. So I have a different kind of walk. So when it gets to this kind of level of Crip Hop and movements and things like that, we all about the work and we all about the play.
And one more thing, really, you know, support your own. You know, there's Black disabled people in London kicking butt. I talk to them. They're organizing and kicking butt. You know, support your own. You know, right. Yeah, didn't support Crip Hop, but there's Black disabled people all over the UK doing work. Yeah. And Tony Hickman, You gotta come to LA.
I'm coming to LA. You already done called it. I'm coming to LA.
Thank you so much. But yeah, and I think as well, I think hip hop as a subgenre of hip hop, it should be in the Hip Hop Museum in New York. I think.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
That would be so awesome.
It's
Yes.
like it is a massive part of hip hop that you know what I mean, that should be wider known. It really should be wider known. And
Speak it into existence. That's it. You done put it out there. It's gonna happen. Yes.
It's just like should be. It's like, come on, it makes sense. It's like
right. It does.
No, it does, and I hope, and I'm hoping, you know, I'm hoping the soundtrack gets more exposure for hip hop and hip hop artists. I know I was listening to a podcast with Four Wheel City.
Yes.
Oh yeah. From New York. Yeah.
Oh, they're amazing. There's so many artists like in the hip hop family that I don't know, that like I'm sleeping on. I'm like, where have I been? Why have I not, you know, like why have I not found this? Like,
right.
I have now. I know about you all now, so I'm definitely promoting you guys. You're absolutely amazing. You really are amazing.
Well, thank you.
So I think we're gonna go actually wrap it up. But thank you so much for joining me with
you.
Crucial and vital discussion. And long it needs to be talked about more, and it needs to be talked about often. But thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. Definitely. Thank you, UK. Thank you, Liverpool. Thank you, Wow Fest. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, and I wish you the abundance of success.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye, Leroy. Thank you. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. I hope you enjoyed that discussion. I know I certainly have, and please do support the hip hop movement. And as the guy said, that you can stream their music and get involved with them. It's all through streaming services as well, Spotify. So I'd just like to now thank the Mayor's Fund, as well as Culture Liverpool, for allowing us and helping us put on our Black History Month festival, and also obviously across the city. So please do come and check out our event. We've got our 1919 socially distanced walking tour tomorrow. We've got more events happening throughout the week, so you can go to www.wildfest.uk, or you can also go onto our website as well, www.writingonthewall.org.uk, and we've also got our Writer on the Block events as well, as part of our Writers Block. So I'd just like to say again, thank you so much for joining me this evening, and I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of the weekend. Take care and keep safe. Bye, everyone.
There's a young boy walking through obstacles, cut up from all the surgery, prosthetic picture perjury, telling me I'm normal, but normal they never really made me see. They always painted me, discriminated but levitated through all the hated scenes. So I redrew how they made it seem. But that's what you feel around vultures and all the fatal schemes. They wanna label me a cripple, that's the way it seems. Take away my right to pursue a normal life and live.
Indeed, for me, I must proceed and shine bright like the sun. Even though I know the darkness will come, it's all temporary. I can be legendary, cause I will never stop believing in me. It doesn't matter what you think I should be. See, I am what I am, I'm the truth. I'm disabled, I'm amazing, understand. Don't you ever underrate me, cause I got a second chance. And I choose to be the greatest in whatever the plan is. All my life, right? I ignite like a kaboom when I step in the room. So please don't get distracted. Yes, my limbs are fractured, still I rise from the ashes. I'm a rising phoenix, I rise above you. I'm a rising phoenix, I rise above.
At the pistols pop them out the block to hit the ground running. No lazy days of jungle, the storm, the human being can born to do it. That's why I be so smooth while I do this underneath the ditch. Watching how I keep it moving. Use it, your lack of intuition. Presuming my predictions in the BS. 5 and 8 arrive, transform the right before the eyes and into the sky. They ask you for a while, but Phoenix rise.
Lead with example and do everything in life I see. A simple thing like riding a bike, we all alike. How is that enlightening? It's so much fighting, cause my superpower, it makes me different, it's lightning. Wait, how many obstacles I gotta break? How many fights I gotta face? Just to make you feel my fate. I shake, then I break down. Yeah, but I take all the weight down.
I'm a rising phoenix, I rise above you. I'm a rising phoenix, I rise above you. People make fun of what they don't understand. Look at me cause I'm different and can't do what they can. But belittle me you won't, because I am what I am. I am amazing, a different pill in which your brain cannot cram. I'm different. Often inspired by pain, inflicted by the inhumane, with hearts as black as the grain. My disability is silent, but my bottled up rage got me running from my dreams 100 miles with one leg. So how dare you try to remind me that I don't fit into your perception? How dare you define me? I'm beyond what you see as perfection. I'm a rising phoenix, I rise above you. I'm a rising phoenix, I rise